It's really kind of exciting. It's going to be fun and colorful, and I've made myself some tools that I'm sure you've never seen before. How about that? I rubber cemented 2 pieces of cardboard together, so it's 2 thicknesses of cardboard, and then I made myself a nifty little handle. I taped it on with masking tape. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in just a little bit. Paint I'm using today is going to be a mixture of medium-bodied paints that are going to be in the tubes. I'm not going to use Deco Art paints. They're too fluid, and this I want it to feel a little bit more chunky. So I've got to basically start out doing the base coat. I had to scoot my chair back here. I'm going to start out doing the base coat, and so half of it is going to be in the blue tones, half is going to be in the red tones. These are 2 guitars. I have an inspiration picture, and it's really pretty, and she loved the inspiration picture, but the size larger than she wanted to go, so she asked if I could do something similar. So I'm going to start out, and I'm going to do the blue tone up here first. And basically, it's kind of like, I guess what you would consider the main color of the blue piece. And I'm going to use several blue colors. But looking to see if I have light blue, and I don't. Cerulean blue. I may mix a little white with this to make it just a little bit lighter. So I could even use heavy bodied paint, but I'm just going to use the medium bodied. So it's going to have a little texture, not a lot, but it's going to have way more texture than you would have if you were using craft paints out of bottles. So here we go. And I don't want any straight edges in the middle. So this is going to be probably more camouflaged in the middle with some white. So basically I'm just putting the base color on, and it does not even have to be like real even. It can be brush strokey because there's going to be multiple layers, and I'll show you why in a minute. And the thing I'm going to do in a minute with the cardboard may or may not work. It's, it's always kind of an experiment sometimes. So we shall see how that turns out. So this is cerulean blue and a little bit of white mixed in, and then I've kind of got it mixed kind of half and half with, that was Liquitex, and this is Artist Loft Turquoise. So a little bit of turquoise is mixed in. And I'm painting the edges of this painting black, so I'm not worried about the sides at all. It's a deep canvas. It's, I don't know, it's probably 1.5 inches thick, almost 2 inches. But it's a really thick, deep canvas. I'll paint it black on the edges. She doesn't want to frame it, so she won't need to frame it because it'll be painted. That's the beauty of having a gallery wrapped canvas. When somebody says a canvas is gallery wrapped, that means that the canvas wraps around and does not have any staples showing. It goes all the way to the back side of the canvas, and there it is either tucked in into the wood, or you might see staples on the back, and I'll show you what I mean here. Just trying to get this on here first just so it can be drying. And I have lights on, so the lights do help with drying, and I always have a blow dryer available just to speed up the process, because otherwise you're sitting and waiting on paint to dry. And I'm an artist for a living, and I don't want to wait. I want to paint. So let me show you what I mean. by Gallery Wrapped. So this, like I said, this canvas is, let me just get my ruler and measure for you. I use Gallery Wrapped canvases all the time. It's 1.5 inches deep. A lot of times they'll put centimeters on the package, and I'm not used to using centimeters. I'm always used to using inches. So it's 1.5 inches deep. And on the back side, this one is a very nice one. It goes all the way around to the back, and then it's tucked in, and it's got another frame that's built in around that canvas on the inside to cover all the staples up. And you just have like corner staples where your wood is glued together or that kind of thing on the very corner. But so that's what Gallery Wrapped means. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out really well, and I'm going to base coat this half, and I'm probably going to do that in a vermilion red, which is a fabulous warm orangey red. So like I have orange, that's Liquitex Basics. I have Artist Loft Vermillion, which is what I'm going to use. I have a Liquitex Cadmium Red Deep. And see how much more, you know, of a reddish, bluish red that is, and this is like an orangish red. So this is going to be more cool, this is more warm, this is a warm red, vermilion. This one I'm not going to mix colors together, it's just going to be straight out vermilion on the base. But as I rinse my brush out, you always make sure you get it rinsed really thoroughly so you're not intermingling that last color with the color you're getting ready to put on. So this one is going to be, I'm going to come up here to the edge, but I'm not going to really touch where the blue is. I'm just coming up close to it because, like I said, there's going to be some white that kind of intermingles in that center section. And so I'm not really worried about, you know, getting it perfectly in the middle or anything like that. I do, you know, I am just eyeballing it, and I am going to pull my ruler out just to make sure that I'm eyeballing it kind of correctly. Like I can tell I'm going uphill on my canvas here. Like I've got a wider area here and a more narrow area here, so I've got to straighten that out a bit. What I'll do is come back with another brush with that blue on it. I'm going to come right down to the red just so that I know, and so I don't forget that I kind of did the red a little bit wider there. But this is just the first layer, and it's not important to get it perfect. And with abstract painting, abstract is very non-realistic looking. So perfection is not key when you're painting abstract, and that's why I think a lot of people like abstract, is because there's freedom in the abstract style. I have painted for 20 years and mostly tried to paint realistically. And it's very frustrating if you don't feel like you're getting the look of something perfectly or close to perfectly. And so abstract is way more easy for people to learn, and like I said, there's more freedom because you're not trying to get something perfect. It's your interpretation of whatever subject matter you're painting, or it doesn't even have to be a subject matter. It can just be totally, you know, dreamt up in your head, and it doesn't have to be a real thing at all. It can be a design or a concept or anything, really. So you see how bright and warm this vermilion is. And it's good to start with a white canvas. You know, when you're starting something like this, it's nice to have white as your base, because if you don't have white, say you were to start, and this was a painting you already had done and you wanted to paint over it, if you started it as a different color or with a design on it, that's going to show through, especially with red like this. Red is kind of a transparent, because of all the pigment. It is very kind of transparent, and it usually takes multiple layers to get it to really cover well. So with red, I always start, you know, you need to start with a pale gray or a white or something that's very neutral, cream, that's going to make your red the truest color it can be within the first coat. And then, you know, if I wanted it solid, I would continue to do layers of red on top of this. But I'm not wanting this to be solid because it is abstract. So I will show you what I mean by that. There's something on the canvas, a couple of specks. I'm trying to just get them out. Something in my brush, I don't know. Keep seeing this little black speck come up. And so if I'm going to paint the edges, I still try to take it over the edge just a little bit. I just kind of fan it out on the edges a little bit so that it goes over the edge, and then you can come back with your black and make a nice crisp straight line. So just make sure that your edges have that color that you want. Whatever color you're using, make sure it goes over the edge just a little bit. See, I just got my brush in the blue. But that's okay. So, let me rinse my water. I'll be right back. And some people have asked if I would be willing to do an online course, and I've thought about that. And so I'm always wondering if I should just do a painting at the regular speed, no fast forwarding, and you to be able to just watch all the way through, because it can become long. It can be an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, you know, whatever, and that takes a long time to edit it or to upload it to YouTube and that kind of thing. So this might be one of the paintings that I would, you know, possibly offer as a teaching video. So this one may be one where I speed it up for this, but then if I do a teaching online type thing, I would then show it in slow regular motion at real time so that you can see step by step. So I'm going to take my blow dryer. I'm in a warm house, but and this is my blow dryer I bought. It's like super powerful. It kind of blows paper and everything all over the place, so I have to hold on to anything that will blow away. But I'm going to use this just to dry my paint very quickly. So the one thing about some colors is, you know, they dry more solid. Like the blue dried a little bit more solid. The red is a little bit more transparent. And see how, like, let me get it over here where I saw see that little bit of a shiny spot in the red? That's just a thicker area right here that's not totally dried. So when you're drying, you're looking for shiny spots, because the shiny spots are going to be the wet spots. So like I said, it's two guitars that are laying beside each other. And the canvas that the other painting was done on was probably a little wider. It's a rectangle, but it's probably a little wider, so I'm just trying to figure out. I don't want the guitars to look funny if they're too skinny. I don't want them to look really skinny. I think what I'll do is bring the red over here and bring the blue over here. And in order to bring that blue over on the red, you have to add a little bit more white. White will make it more opaque or not as transparent feeling. So I'm going to just come over a little bit on the blue. Here. I'm just basically trying to cover up the red. And what I'm going to do here is add more red. So it's going to have a little bit of a slanted feel. See how the red, when you put it over the blue, it makes it look dark. So this has got to be kind of layered up a little bit more. And let me add just a little bit of white to red and I'll show you what happens. If I add just a little bit of white to red, it's going to almost make it feel pink. Not quite. But see, what happens is it makes it less transparent when I add the white to it. But it's not as strong a red, so it's not as vibrant. But in order to go over that blue a little bit, that's kind of what you have to do. So like I'm putting this on thicker. But it's going to, anytime you add thicker paint, it's going to take longer to dry. So you just have to keep that in mind. If you put your paint on thicker, you can't expect it to dry on you like right away, like typical acrylic paint does when you're painting. So if you put it on thick, it's going to take longer to dry. Now I'm going to dry this area here. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more red in this area to kind of get it closer to the rest of the red. Add a little white into it just to make it a little less deep in color. So I'm going to let that be drying. These will be the lightest. These will be the darkest. So in this area I want, well, and in several areas I want to add a deeper kind of purpley blue. And I'm going to use Brilliant Blue Artist Loft. And you'll see how bold this blue is. It's really powerful. I may not even need purple, but I'm going to add a little purple. I love purple mixed with blue. The lighter version of purple and blue is Periwinkle, which is one of my favorite colors. So this is Liquitex Dioxazine Purple, which I love. I love all purples, and so there's a little bit of that. It's almost gone. And actually red and blue make purple, so I could even take red and add it to the blue to make the purple. But I want it like a true blue, and see how vibrant that blue is, which I love. But I want to, and I'm going to mix some of the other blue that was on the plate with it, just to knock it off just a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of purple, and see how that purple just really just makes it a lot richer looking. So here's going to be my darker side. So I'm just kind of adding it. And this is a slanted, probably about a 3/4 inch brush, and I typically use a 1 inch wide flat brush. This is flat as well, it's just angled. So I'm going to take and wet my brush just a little bit, put a little bit of water on there, and I'm going to go back in and get the blue that I started with. Which was cerulean blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of this cerulean blue that I had, and I'm just going to kind of what I call cross hatching into the deeper blue. Bring it on out a little bit here. So I'm taking some of this purpley deeper blue, and this is called cross hatching, where you just kind of work one paint color into the other. So it has what looks like kind of a cross hatched look. So I like that pretty well. And then I'm going to bring this deeper blue that has some of that purple in it down the edge of this canvas as well. I just love that. It's almost kind of like a midnight blue, something like that. And put a little turquoise in here too, because that makes it more interesting. So I'm cross hatching. I don't want it even. I kind of want it splotchy. And then down here, where it's going to be lighter, I'll try to get back to that regular blue that I started with. So I'm mixing multiple colors of blue together, basically, just to get this kind of cross-hatched look. Crisscross, and then I kind of lighten my brush stroke where I'm not pressing down as much, and then that feathers it just a little bit more for you. So there's that. And so you can come back in and you can keep working it if you want it kind of painterly anyway and you don't want it perfect looking. But there's some of that. And then, so this corner will be the darkest of the red. And for that, let me rinse my brush good. I have two brushes in my hand here. And I can use some of that brilliant blue with the red, but I'm just going to put this cadmium red deep on the canvas. So you see how much darker that is than the vermilion already. But I actually, this is going to be where this feels cool, this is going to feel warm. So I want my red tones to be warm, on the warm side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit, this is Van Dyke Brown, it's Creative Inspirations acrylic color. I got it on Amazon, I think. Anne-Marie Ritterhoff uses Van Dyke Brown all the time. Not this brand, but she uses a Van Dyke Brown, which is kind of a warm brown. So I ordered a tube because I really do like it. So I'm going to take a little bit of that red that's deeper. I'm going to take a little bit of the blue from my blue plate. See how you add that in? So it takes it to a much darker color. Red and blue make purple, but so like right now, if this is a purple, it's like a really dark purple. Now I'm going to add some brown to it as well. And I'll put a little bit more of this darker cadmium red. So I'm going to go in this corner like I started in the other corner, and see, that's super dark. So I'm not going to put like a ton of this color. I'm going to take it down the canvas like I did the blue. Make sure to take it over your edges when you do this. So this was my slanted brush. I'm going to switch brushes and use my other flat brush, but I'm rinsing it out. Now I'm going to go back in and get some of the just regular deep red, because I want to fan this into the vermilion. This is still just the cadmium red deep. I'm working it in, just even by itself on top of that brownish deep red color. And then I want to take that vermilion and come back and work the vermilion in. Let me rinse my brush and get the dark color out of my brush. And come back strictly with the vermilion and just try to blend it into this darker color. And I can take some of that other red too. So I'm going to move this deeper red out a little bit and then come back with that vermilion and try to bring the vermilion red over this darker color. Cross hatching the whole time just to give it some texture. I used to do decorative art and used to paint on people's walls, and cross hatching was one of the ways that I did texture on people's walls. I would take a couple of colors, let's just say their wall was a tan color. I would take I'd take a light tan, a medium tan, well, I might even take a white and then a tan and then a darker tan. I might take 3 different colors, and I would do the same effect with a big paintbrush that was about 3 inches wide and cross hatch on the wall, and it would give this very textured pattern that was really beautiful. It had a leathery look to it. It was really a really neat process. So I'm basically just doing the same thing except for smaller on a canvas. Oh, that's pretty good there. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to still add a bunch of different things to this. But it's got a darker smoky side and a bluer cool side here. And then see, there's going to be black over this too, so it's going to go even darker. So I think I'm going to go and rinse my water again. I change my water quite frequently, especially when you're going from darks to lights. You want, like this is gray brown water right now, you always want clean fresh water. So the guitar is going to be a little bit on an angle here, and then one will be here. And basically coming out from under the guitar, it has this kind of explosion kind of feeling. But before I do that, I was going to show you the really neat techniques with my little pads that I made. So you need a really flat surface, and used to I had these blocks of wood that were maybe 1 inch thick and a few inches across, 3 inches or so, blocks of wood, and one side would be really flat, and I would just hold the block of wood, and I didn't have any blocks of wood, so I made this cardboard. But I wanted to be fairly sturdy, and I made a little handle so I could hold it and not get my fingers on the edge in the paint as I'm moving it. But I'm going to take this here, and let's go back to that dark blue color that has some purple in it. So I'm just basically going to brush some of this on this block. And I'm just going to drag it. This is a good way to do distressing on furniture. It's kind of really a neat look. If you have a piece of furniture, let's just say it's a blue piece of furniture, a soft blue, and you want it to look like it's distressed a little bit, you put a darker blue or a little bit of brown and you scrape and you add these what looks kind of like it's distressed look. I'm even coming over into the red some, that's okay. All with a piece of cardboard or a block of wood. So I'm going to do the same thing with the red. It just gives it this really kind of neat texture in the background. So I'm going to get a little bit of the blue and brown and that cadmium red, so it's kind of a dark red, brushing it on my block, my make-believe block that I made up. It can go different angles, however you want it to be. So it gives it that distressed look. It's really neat. Do it one more time. Take it over even into the blue a little bit. Okay? So I'll stick some even over in the blue side, so it has a little bit of red there. So I'll go back to the blue. I'll put a little brown, a little red in that, just for something different. So it's a really deep blue, because I ran out of my purple on my plate. And just stick a little bit of that here and there. Okay? So I'm going to rinse brushes in water, because I'm going to lighter colors after this. And I hit this with the blow dryer to try to help speed the process. I'm going to take some of this cadmium red, just add it around kind of in splotches. You can even take a damp paper towel, and if you don't like the hard edges, you can come back and rub it with the paper towel and make it more subtle. Also, I'm trying to do it lighter, you know, as far as not putting a lot of paint on the canvas. That way it'll dry faster as well. And then rinse that out and do the kind of the same thing with the blue. Yeah, like I said, you can You can kind of swish your paper towel around or blot it. So now we're going to use some lighter shades. So since I just put the blue on, I'm going to work on the red side. You can kind of go back and forth and switch. Try to keep my hands cleaned up a little bit so that I don't have nasty hands the whole time I'm painting. The other thing too is if you drip on your canvas, you need to get that water up as soon as possible, because if you don't, you're going to leave, if you were to wipe it, it's going to leave the impression of whatever, if it landed in a circle, it's going to be a lighter circle when you lift it up. So if you have wet paint, you get it wiped off as fast as, wet water, like here I dripped it and there's a lighter spot right there. I'm going to leave it, but if you drip on your painting, you need to get it up as quickly as possible without trying to mess it up. So I'm going to take this cadmium orange hue, and this is yellow oxide, which is like a gold color. And I'm going to take cadmium yellow medium, which is nice and bright and yummy. Okay, so before I go any further, I think I want to go ahead and just kind of roughly plan out the guitar shapes. I could draw it in with a pencil, but it's not going to really show up on this vivid color. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of black paint. Actually, this is a good time to use like a bottle of paint, like Deco Art, which is fluid. And then I take me a brush and I put a little bit of water, because I almost want it to feel like a watercolor. I want it like watery paint. And I'm just going to basically paint out the guitar shape. I went too far. So while it's wet, take a damp paper towel. And this is not precise. It doesn't have to be precise. Actually, I want to curve that in and take it out a little more. That's the beauty of water-based paint, is you can kind of manipulate it, if you need to. Like I want that a little bit more rounded feeling. So I'll come back in with my damp paper towel. And I can even leave it like sketchy looking. It doesn't have to be this, for the most part, is going to be black up here. Down to the end of my bottle here. So I'm going to go back in this time. And with this one, instead of black being inside the guitar, it's kind of around the edges, like almost like a shadow. No, I don't want it even. Now I'll put This is Master's Touch, which comes from Hobby Lobby, and it's much thicker. It's very creamy and thick, and I can get more texture with it as well. But I'm also going to do the same thing and kind of come in the corners. There's going to be some black areas that are here and there. So this is not watery at all like the Deco Art paint. This is very creamy. So it you know, it reacts and works very differently from paints that are in a bottle because of the thickness and the creaminess. This is artist grade paint. And what I'll do is I'll come back, this looks kind of splotchy, I'll come back in and add some blues back in. I'm just letting it dry at this point. So now I want to add in my lighter colors, and I'm letting this dry for a few minutes, and I'm going to rinse my water. I'm going to take the orange and to the red area, and I want this guitar to kind of feel like it's kind of bursting with color. So see, I'm going over some of the black, and I may have to go back with the black later, but I want to get some brighter areas in here. And this orange is not very strong over this vermilion red, but it does add some warmth to it. You can rub it with your fingers. There's so many things you can do with acrylic paints. I mean, you can do it with oil too, but I don't use oil paint. But I like acrylics because they're water-based. They're not harmful. I've been working with them for over 20 years, not have any issues with my health concerning, you know, anything paint related. But so you can touch them. They're not going to harm you, that kind of thing, you know. And then this area around the guitar here, I want to really lighten up, but it's going to take some layers. So even this orange can kind of spill over into the blue a little bit. Orange is very transparent too. It's kind of one of those difficult colors to work with at times. So now I'm going to take some of this gold, mix it with the orange a little bit, and go over these areas that I had the orange. Just go a little bit more. And the gold is kind of, it's a little bit on the drab side. It's the gold is, you know, it's antique-y looking. But what we're doing is we're adding layers of color. I'm going to let that dry for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to come over to the blue side. I've got that turquoise, which I like, and I'm going to add some more white back on the plate. And this is bright aqua green, so it's got, you know, the green cast, but I love this color with blue. It's a nice contrast. So I'll add a little bit of turquoise in with it so it doesn't feel so green, and a little bit of white. It's just very vibrant looking with with these blue colors. So this one I'm going to go around, lighten it up a little bit here and there. Stick a little white with it. Take some of that turquoise and kind of mix it in too. And so now I'm going to go back to the red side. And I'm going to use the yellow, stick a little white in it because yellow is pretty transparent as well. Go back on top of this gold. Just to give accents. Just going around and adding that yellow. You want that electric feel, you know, like the guitar's on fire. I added some gold back into it and a little bit of the orange, just trying to warm up that gold too that I had put on before. So you have kind of different layers of yellows and golds. I can take my damp paper towel and I can rub some back off too if I want, you know. It's not set in stone until it's dried. I'm going to go back and add some of that vermilion with a little bit of that cadmium red. You know, I can add it back in areas. Rinse out. I'm going to come back to the blue side. I've got my little bit of white here. And this part of the guitar is going to be white. See, and this is too where I could take my block and put white paint on it and use it. I think I might towards the end. Right now I'm just going to paint in with the paintbrush, but I may use it towards the end. So here I'm just going back in and kind of shaping out the guitar. And this white is very thick and creamy. It's Liquitex Basics. So sometimes you kind of have to layer it up. Got some blue in it, but that's okay. It makes it like a really, really pale blue, but you can't really tell. It still looks white. See, the yellow's not dry and it's making my white yellow, so I'm going to wait on that spot. There's kind of two grayish areas. So I'm going to put a little white on this piece of cardboard. See how it just makes it kind of that distressed kind of feel. You put it on heavier if you want it thicker. Got my hair in it too. So I want to make some straight black lines, but I don't want them to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is put black paint on my scraper here. Well, let's see if this works. A little bit. So I'm stopping for a few minutes, and the great thing about this kind of paint is just put a plate over it, and you can keep it pretty wet, so that's what I'm going to do with that. I've got more accents and highlights to do, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Well done. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel.